Hello and welcome to another pen video from me, Penultimate Dave. So I have here what I would call another special pen, and you can see here it is from Urushi Studio, India. So I think what we'll do is we'll unbox this pen and we'll take a look at it. So this pen is in this lovely clamshell box. I think it's a really nice looking box. I actually purchased this from Vivek at Urushi Studio India, and this is the pen. Now this is called the Xiphos R, or Xiphos is the UK pronunciation. I believe it's Xiphos in American, and it's just really on how we pronounce the Z or the Z. So Xiphos means sword, and it's a Xiphos R, and the R stands for the regular size, and this is 142 millimeters in length. So this pen is quite an interesting story, this one. I know a lot of people ask me, do I plan my pen purchases or do I just buy them on a whim and unplanned? And honestly, it's a little bit of both, but this pen is really beautiful. It's an Aka Tamanuri-like finish. It's a Urushi pen, clearly from Urushi Studio India. And I arrived home one day and I sat down, I opened Instagram on my phone, I refreshed my feed, and this was the first pen that I saw. And there was a video from Vivek at Urushi Studio India of this particular pen. And I looked at it and I wanted it for a number of reasons. So the first reason, let me take the pen out of the bed. The first reason is I like Urushi. And I have a number of Urushi pens in my collection. Not a huge amount, but a few. And I have always liked Aka Tamanuri, and I have another pen that I'll show you in the comparison later that is Aka Tamanuri, but this one is a colour, the more dark red, that I have really wanted in the past, and these normally go for quite a lot of money. So if you're looking at one of these pens, to try and pick up one of these pens at, say, a pen show, you're probably looking at 800, 900, 1,000, sometimes even up to 2,000 for an Aka Tamanuri, depending on the pen, the make, the model. So when I saw this, I messaged Vivek at Urushi Studios India and said, okay, I'm interested, I see it's available, how much? He told me the price, and he had a couple of other buyers interested, but they haven't actually committed to it, and I said, right, I'm buying it. And the next day we worked out what the shipping cost would be from India to the UK, and he shipped it on a Tuesday. It arrived on a Thursday via UPS. So I was very, very pleased with how quickly Vivek was able to get this pen to me. So this is an Aka Tamanuri-like finish, and Aka means red and Tamanuri means pool or a glass-like finish. This is an ebonite pen, and it goes through a process of 3 coats of raw Urushi, 3 coats of intermediate Urushi, 4 coats of red Urushi, 5 layers of translucent Urushi to generate a deep colour effect, and he has to grind the surface using various sandpapers and fine polishing powders, and then Urushi wiping process is repeated 10 times to generate this glass-like finish. Now, the Xiphos is a double-edged, one-handed Iron Age straight short sword used by the ancient Greek. It was a secondary battlefield weapon for the Greek armies after the dory or javelin. The Xiphos sometimes has a midrib and is diamond or lenticular in cross-section. It was generally hung from a baldric under the left arm. The name Xiphos apparently means something in the way of penetrating light, according to the researcher and swordsmith Peter Johnson. So this is the pen, and it really is a beautiful pen. So I love this very, very deep glass-like sort of texture sort of going on there in the Akatamanuri, in the Urushi, and then there is a little bit of a fading going on here where Vivek is trying to sort of blend and get a lighter version of that pen out. Now, it is a little bit sort of non-uniform as you rotate the pen, but I don't mind that. I do like this finish, and I do know that it's not easy to get a finish like this as well, and typically you do normally pay a lot more than I actually paid for this pen. So this pen really is lacquered or Urushi to a very high standard. You can see the dome point there on the cap finial, and also the dome point there on the what would be the end cap. But this pen, for me, is a beautiful pen. Would I actually buy another pen from Vivek at Urushi Studio India? Well, I think the answer to that is yes. I really do like the quality of this pen. The quality of this Urushi and the polishing that's gone on there really is quite stunning. You can just see there the glass-like finish to it. It really is polished to a high standard. If I unscrew the cap here, you will see it has a steel nib, and it's a GM nib from GM Custom Pens, which also is another company that Vivek actually operates with. The section here is Urushi as well, but it's a black Urushi. The nib is a steel nib. I asked for a medium nib. You can get a gold nib on these as well, and Vivek will actually do pens to order if you want a pen, but he does have a little bit of a waiting list like most custom pen makers have. Now, he doesn't make these pens, he buys these pens in, but he has to do all this lacquering work, which can take anywhere from weeks to months. And if I wanted a gold nib, I could have a gold nib on here, but that would have cost a little bit more, and it would also cost me a little bit more in terms of import duty. So I decided I would go just with a steel nib on this, and I can always pick up a gold nib later. It's a Yovo nib, so it's very easy to unscrew that nib, and you can see there it's got the plastic feed. If I unscrew the body here, you will see it comes with just a standard cartridge converter there, and it does actually have a name there on the converter, and it's Schmidt. But for me, I just love this pen, and I have always wanted an Akatamanuri Urushi pen in this very dark, deep red colour. And where possible, with a little bit of a sort of lightening around here. I don't mind that it doesn't have a red Urushi section, although you can get a red Urushi section from Vivek if you're having a pen made to order. But I actually like this. I like that it actually does have a black section. I thought I would prefer a red section, but I do like that black section a lot. So for me, I'm really glad that I was able to pick this pen up when I did, that I arrived home and that the first post I saw on my Instagram feed was this pen. So although I do plan some of my pen purchases, there are pens that I like to add to a wish list. There are equally some pens where I will literally just buy on the spot, and this was one of them. Now, there are a number of Urushi sort of makers or painters, dare I say it, that will lacquer pens. There is Vivek at Urushi Studio India, who actually provided this pen. There is also Michael from Tamanuri Studios in Poland, and both Vivek and Michael have been painting Urushi pens for around 5 years, and I think both of the quality of their workmanship is actually pretty good. I don't have a pen from Michael at Tamanuri Studios just yet, although I would like one, and I can very much see myself adding one to my collection at some point in the future. The one thing to bear in mind with Michael and also Vivek is that they do have some longer wait times, like most custom pen makers do. So if you want a pen, there are two options. One, you can have a look and see if they have a pen ready for sale, and if they do, then buy that, and you can beat maybe some of that time period. Or you can commission a pen, and a commission pen might take 4 weeks, 8 weeks, might even be 3 or 4 months. It really depends on their backlog of orders. So I think with that, let's take a look at the size and weight of this pen, and we'll do a pen comparison, and then we'll do a writing sample. So the length of this pen is 142 millimeters in length. The length of the cap is about 62 millimeters in length, which is actually quite a nice size, and I do like that in terms of sort of the size in my hand. The length to the tip of the nib, or the tip of the tines, we are looking at about 134 millimeters, which isn't bad, and I do actually like that size. Now, for me here, I find this is actually a really good size. It's very comfortable in my hand. It's made of ebonite, so it's actually quite lightweight. Now, these pens do not post, they're not designed to post, and I wouldn't want to post any pen that has Urushi. I have had a few friends actually say to me at pen clubs, can I post this pen, or some people just going ahead and doing it. And I would rather they didn't, because although Urushi does actually harden quite hard, I don't want to mark it. So I think that's a good reason why a lot of the Urushi pens are not designed to post. But this colour though is absolutely gorgeous for me, so I'm really glad I picked that pen up. I think what we'll do a weight check as well. Now, the weight of the pen, we are looking at about 26.5 grams. I've got to try and stop it. There you go. 26.68 grams. It doesn't come with a clip, so that's one of the downsides to a lot of these pens, especially Urushi lacquered pens. So you really want to, you could have a roll stop on there, or you could just use a pen rest, which is what I do a lot of the time. The weight of the cap, we are looking at just over 6.5 grams. And then the weight of the pen, now this pen is inked up, is just over 15.5 grams. So for me, that really is a nice pen. It's quite light for me. But as you can see here, this finish really is quite nice. So I think we'll do a comparison with other pens. So, from left to right, we have an Atelier Lusso Carina in the Diamond Nebula, a Visconti Medici, a Visconti Homo Sapiens Bronze Age Marzi. We have a Pilot Custom Urushi in the Vermilion. We have a Urushi Studio India in the Xiphos R. We have a Danny Trio Bamboo Story. We have a Visconti Homo Sapiens Caput Mundi, a Visconti Homo Sapiens Jade, a Visconti Kalido Voyager in the Yellow Dawn, and a Visconti Divina in the Desert Spring. So, I think let's do a writing sample of this pen. So, this is the Urushi Studio India, and it's the Xiphos R, and it's Aka Tamanuri. Now, the nib in here is a medium steel nib, and I could have got a gold nib with it, but I decided I would go with a medium steel nib. I was tempted to go for a broad nib, but I said to Vivek if he had a medium, I'd go for a medium nib. If he had a broad, because I've got a lot of Yovo broad nibs, I would go for a broad nib, but if I could get a medium nib, I would get a medium nib. Now, in terms of line variation, so this is a medium steel nib, and you can see there the line variation. Now, if I press it a little bit harder, because it's a steel nib, you can get a slight more variation out of it. but you can see there's no hard starts or skips. Now in terms of the ink in here, this is Diamine, Poppy, Red. Now in terms of the ink wetness, or the nib wetness I should say, you can see there that this nib is quite wet, but it's not a fire hose nib. And typically I find this a lot with Yovo nibs, that they tend to be wet enough to write with to give a pleasant writing experience, but not too wet. So this is a nib that you can write with quite nicely, I would say, probably in a journal or a notebook where you do need to keep maybe flipping the pages over. Although if you have a super wet fire hose nib, you can always use a page of ink blotting paper between two sheets, and if I'm writing with a very wet or fire hose nib, that's normally what I would do. But if you don't want to do that, then a dry nib or a less fire hose of a wet nib would work out pretty well as well. So for me, what do I like about this pen and what do I not like about the pen? Well, I love Urushi, and Urushi isn't cheap, and Urushi is also poisonous. It's a sap from the Urushi tree. So you have to be careful when applying this, and otherwise it can poison you. But the glass-like finish that you get and the beautiful colours and shades that you get, I really like Urushi. So first off, I like the pen being having a Urushi coating on it, or many layers of Urushi. I also love Aka Tamanuri, and I love this deep dark red colour as well. So when I saw this pen, I've been looking for a pen in Aka Tamanuri in this colour of red for a long time, and most of them have been well over £1,000, some even up to £2,000 when I've been looking at some of the pens on Sarge's table at pen shows. And when I saw this is a lot cheaper, being an Indian pen, and made by or lacquered by Urushi Studio India. So I decided that was what actually made this a really nice pen for me. What do I not like about the pen? There really isn't anything that I don't like about the pen. I know some people won't touch pens if they don't have clips. I never clip pens into my shirt pockets, and okay, if I put this on the table, it might roll away a little bit, but that doesn't bother me. I normally will sandwich it between two items on a desk, or I will use a pen rest for this. So for me, I don't have any qualms or issues with this pen. Like, the pen itself is a really nice size. I think the quality of the workmanship that Vivek has done here is also really nice. The weight of the pen, the size of the section, everything is what I like about this pen. So as I said before, would I buy another pen from Vivek at Urushi Studio India? Yes, I'm pretty sure I would. Would I try and get a pen commissioned? Possibly. I'm not normally one that likes to wait around to have a pen commissioned. I've done it with some pens, I've done it with some cases. I typically don't like having to wait anywhere from 2 months to maybe 12 months for something to be made, and then maybe having it not quite how I envisaged it. And I think that's probably a fear that I have more when getting pens commissioned, or cases as well. But most of the time, I'd say 95% of the time, they turn out exactly how I envisage. So it's always good to work with the pen maker or case maker and work out that this is exactly what you want. So I probably would, depending on Vivek's lead time. I would also like to get maybe a pen made from Michael at Tamanori Studios at some point as well. So this is my review of the Urushi Studio India Xiphos R in an Aka Tamanuri-like finish. Thanks for watching. please like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you on the next pen video. Bye bye.